I was telling the story. I started writing, I started documenting this, and I was going to put it in ledger format or write it down. And I started telling the story that Mom told me. And this is just a fantastic story. She goes, it was Easter Sunday. She was a little girl. And she had on a beautiful dress, right? A pretty new dress. And she was excited about it. And a bird flew overhead. And, you know, as birds do, you know, sometimes you see droplets coming down from them. One actually landed on her dress. And she was so upset, she chased that bird. She said she chased, this is a story straight from Mom's lips to mine. She chased that bird to my ears. She chased that bird and chased that bird. And she said, Tony, I tell you, I just finally gave out because I never could get it. But one of the funny things about that story was that when she got through running and chasing that bird that had pooped on her dress, she said when she looked to her side, Edward Earl was right there with her. And these were little kids, right? But she was chasing that bird and chasing that bird. She was mad at the bird. And she wanted to, I guess, vent her frustration. But when she got done chasing that bird, he was right there. The reason why this is so funny to me is I can kind of look at them and I can see a little girl, and I think Mom was about 9 at the time. I can't remember what age Mom said she was, 9 or 10, but I'm thinking Mom was about 9 at the time. But I can see her chasing this bird and running all over the place trying to get this bird, focused in or zoomed in on this bird. Then all of a sudden she stops and she's huffing and puffing and catching her breath. And then she looked to her side and there he is, Edward Earl bent down with his hands on his knees, out of breath too. And he had run every step along the way with her. But nonetheless, that was a great story. It was a fun story that I have of my mother. And when I was telling this story once, I was trying to kind of echo the point that you can look at this story two ways. You can look at it as somebody who wanted to go hurt a bird, or you can look at it as a perseverance type story, in that she chased this bird, and when she got done, it was just completely out of wind. Her little brother persevered that run, and I guess you'd have to be inside of my head to feel the humor of that piece, because I don't look at it as if she was chasing that bird. What she was trying to teach me, or what she was telling me at the time, the message she was trying to echo was that, sometimes you have somebody who will go all the way with you, and they'll be right by your side the whole time. And that was the message that she was trying to get across, more than hurting a bird. It may not have been as wonderful as telling the story as she was, but I did try to respect the value that she told when she was telling me. And it's a courageous story if you allow yourself to delve into it and think like a 9-year-old at the time. But after telling that, let's see where I can go with this this Mom. But I have a lot of fond memories of Mom. And oh, that's another thing. Let me just tell you about the word mom and why we call Mom Mom. Well, a lot of people say mother and mama and all of that other stuff, right? And we call mom mom because it was real simple. And little did we know that she had helped simplify it so, I don't know, she helped simplify it so, and I'm just going to give her credit for this here. All the other kids call mom mom. Very seldom, I mean, every now and then I can look back and I can hear somebody say Miss Blundell, um, uh, when we were younger. But she went by mom to everybody. Some of my friends would refer to her as mom, and it was just as natural. I didn't think they were referring to her as like mom as in the mother state, but mom as her name. But we call mom mom. My father, let me tell you, this is, I don't want to have any entanglement when I share this story because, let me just state, my father didn't live with us. And, but here, let me back it up a step. I don't want to say anything disparaging about my father because I can echo a lot of good. But I have to preface it with this. My father and my mother were young when they had me. So when I say my father wasn't there, it was because they were young parents when they had kids. And he was from Ohio. He went back up to Ohio. And it's just that it's kind of hard to, I'm going to back it up one step even further. My mother was 17 when she had me. And, you can tell that story to a lot of people and they'll go, oh man, you don't come from a good bloodline and all of that. That's, that stuff bounces off me. I'm the least bit concerned about that because you can have ideal situations and kids will not grow up well. I mean, you can have perfect households with the mother and fathers there and the kids don't share the same vision as the parents. The parents might want one thing for them and then they'll go totally off into left field. So I'm careful about my view on when you would ridicule somebody. So as I'm telling this story, it will leave open the window to ridicule. You can say another this or that, but I want to set this record straight in that it will never, ever, I'll put it this way, there'll never, ever, ever be a negative word that comes out of my mouth about my father. I'll just put it that way because they were young. And as you grow older, you understand it more. But he wasn't there. He moved back up to Ohio, and we would later move up to Ohio, and I would have a relationship with him. But his name was Tommy McGoy, the same name as I am, Tommy McGoy. And his father was Tommy McGoy. Now, you would ask, well, I'm not Tommy McGoy III. And here's why. You would ask, well, how can your daddy's name be Tommy McGoy? Your grandfather's name is Tommy McGoy, and you're not Tommy McGoy III. Well, here's why. There's a such thing as a middle name. And I have a middle name. And just changing the middle name changes everything. So you can go from Tommy McGoy the second, and Tommy McGoy the third to just Tommy McGoy. I've told this story before, and I've been told you ought to be proud. You're Tommy McGoy the third. Use the third. But I want to, I want to kind of stay within the realms of operating under truth. And according to the Webster Dictionary, if the name changes in any form, like the middle name change, even though we're all Tommy McGoys, if the middle name changes, then this starts a whole new sect that has to be followed at that point. But nonetheless, I could be Tommy McGoy III, but I am Tommy McGoy, Tommy Tyrone McGoy. My father didn't have the middle name. My mama liked Tyrone. For some reason, that's what she wanted to name me. And he wanted his name also. So that was the compromise, because he wanted to, his father's name was Tommy McGoy. He wanted to pass it down. But he ended up in Ohio. And I can say that one thing I didn't do, I wish I had done more of, is I wish I had, before Mom passed, I wish I had more clarity on the summer that my mother and father, well, actually, the summer that he went back up to Ohio, I should say. But when they met, I wish I had more that I could share on when they met, because sometimes love stories go a long ways. Because I can say, Mom always told me, and I believe it to this day, she told me I was a love child. Even though my mother and father weren't married at the time, young, but she said I was a love child. And that stuck with me. But she didn't tell me that until I was, I think I was in my 40s when Mom first mentioned that to me. Because this was this was well over 20 years ago that she mentioned that to me. But she wasn't bashful about saying that to me as she aged, because I think Mom mentioned that to me about 3 or 4 different times. And it seems to have resonated with me in some kind of a way, and it's, stuck with me. It's still here, Nothing I concentrated on, because I believe that it had to be love at the point that, I was made. And I guess that sounds almost as if I'm patting myself on the back. That let me let that go. But anyway. Let's go back to, let's get past Mom and my daddy, and let's go back to Lemoyne Garden. I was talking about my friends. Anthony Boyce was one of my great friends. Boy, could he play second base. I can remember when we were in a boys club, Pete Rose was really good in baseball. And they called him Charlie Hustle at the time. And we gave Anthony Boyce that nickname, Charlie Hustle, because he was the best baseball player. Oh, he knew the game. He knew the game. I still kind of, I'm not going to say jealous, but I'm like, man, he was just ahead of us. He had a father, like my father was up in Ohio. He had a father that was there. He had, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say it, he had great breeding. And the reason why I use the word breeding at that time is that he was local. His father was local there. He was there with him, and he was learning from his father. But his mind was like really sharp. Anthony Boyce's mind was really sharp. He knew baseball really well. He knew baseball. And he was the best second baseman on earth. We played against different boys clubs, and I've seen boys come along, and over time, and I've been in different leagues playing ball and all of this stuff. And I still haven't seen a better second baseman outside of professional ranks. But he was a good second baseman. And boy, did he know how to lay down a bunt. He was the only one of us that really knew how to bunt. Can you believe that? The only one that knew how to bunt. I'm going to pause it right there for a second. But anyway, I was telling the story of Anthony Boyce, good friend of mine. I considered him my best friend, even though I named quite a few people. I still could name more of the little boys or kids because we all grew up together. Because I can remember Chi-Chi and Winky too. And you know, that was Harvey, you know, it's two Winkies. That was Harvey Mitchell. Harvey Mitchell's brother, we called him Winky. But then there was a Winky, which was a Charles Blanton, lived up on Mississippi and Walker, who had a brother named Chi-Chi. But they were good friends. Parnell was a good friend. God, let me think of somebody else. God, I hate to forget anybody. Let's see here. I know I'm forgetting somebody, but I'll just move along. But nonetheless, just growing up in Lamont Garden was a good time, great time for us. We ended up going to, when we were in elementary school, let's go there. When we were in elementary school, we went to a school called Georgia Avenue School. Geez, I just drew a blank. Georgia Avenue and Walker Avenue. Here, let me share. I went to multiple elementary schools. Went to Georgia Avenue first. Transferred over to Walker Avenue. Moved up to Ohio and went to Fairwood Elementary. But these are all elementary schools, but those were the three elementary schools that I went to. But in Georgia Avenue School, we used to walk. It was up there by Booker T. Washington High School, which is like you walk up towards Crump Street. Anybody from that area would know what I'm talking about. But we used to walk from Lamont Garden up to Georgia Avenue School. And as I look back at it, that was a pretty long walk. I'm surprised they trusted kids to walk that far, because if you drive it today, that's a haul. But we walked that path, not a path, because we were on the main street sidewalks. But we walked that route, that's a better word for it. We walked that route every day, going to school, to and from school. And along the way, going down, we used to go down, what was that, Porter Street. We would walk down Porter Street all the way down, came across, I don't think that was Vance, whatever that street. But we cut to the left to go up Williams Street. That's what it was, go up Williams Street, I think it was, and then make our little right to get down to Georgia Avenue. But we used to go to Georgia Avenue Elementary School. I went there first through third grade. Third grade, yeah. Part year third grade. Second half of third grade, Walker Elementary. Third and fourth grade, Walker Elementary. But here's one thing I can say about Georgia Avenue School. It was a great school for kids, had great teachers. And when I reflect back on that moment, I think of the consistency that they brought when it came to teaching us. They had a way of embedding things in you that, I don't know if there's the same teaching techniques today as there were back then, but because it was a different era, you know, there was a different mindset on the community and how they should teach kids, but learned quite a bit. Went from there, and I mentioned part year, third grade year, went over to Walker Elementary. Let me tell you what special happened at Walker Elementary. I'm in the third grade, And they taught us a poem. Well, all of the kids had to learn a poem for, I guess you could call it a celebration day. I'm not sure because I haven't had a kid in elementary school in quite a while, but we had to get up on a stage in the gym and recite poems. And every kid in our classroom had to learn a poem. And I was told to learn Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Now, why is this important to me? I became so devoted to that poem that it never left me. I learned it in the 3rd grade, and I still have that poem to this day. Well, son, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splendors and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So don't you turn back. Don't you sit down because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now. For I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. I learned that poem in the 3rd grade. That is the impact of a teacher. That is the impact of a teacher, a good teacher. I mean, I learned that poem in the 3rd grade and it has never left me. I just shared it with JoJo, and I'll go through some of these names later, but I just started having him memorize that poem because he's in 3rd grade, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what my teachers did. I don't know if it was the 3rd grade year, your brain becomes big, or if you're more open to learning at the 3rd grade level. I don't know. But I shared it with him and asked him to learn it. And he's learned it. He knows the poem by heart right now. And I was amazed at how fast he picked it up too. Because the impulse is to think that it's going to take quite a while. But it didn't take long. I mean, I shared it with him. And when I thought, I wish I had tested him earlier. But within a week, he had it memorized. And then I revisited, actually we went over it every day for a week. We went over it every day for a week. But he had it memorized in 1 week. And I thought it would take longer. But I shared that with him because it's important to me. I mean, it's just important to me. It was just an important poem. And I just look at it, the importance of it to me, and I'm like, I want to share it with the world. So I gave it to him. And there's something important about sharing things, because I remember when I was in the Army, I was getting ready to flunk out of signal school, and I had this teacher. He believed in me, He said to me, you know what, you just flunked this test, so we have to phase you out of this program and have to send you to the infantry. And it scared me. He said, you've been focusing on basketball, because I was in the Army and I was on our basketball team. And he says, you're in the Army, you're supposed to be learning this electronics training. You're in signal school for a reason. And you're taking the basketball too personally. And I told him, I was like, please give me a chance. And I'll focus and I'll do the right thing, and I'll get my grades, I'll, start doing the right things. And he gave me a chance. And the reason why I broke off that story with JoJo and the poetry and Langston Hughes poem is because I saw a guy today, a guy named Stephen Thomas, and reflected on when I was in the workplace. I have since retired, but I was in the workplace, and that Army guy that did that to me, gave me a second chance. He made me cry. I was grown. I was 19, pretty close to 20. I was 19 years old, and I cried because he scared me. He told me he was getting ready to kick me out of the electronics training program and send me to the infantry. And that would have drastically shifted my direction in life, you know. And he was trying to echo that to me, or trying to, you know, instill that in me. But he passed on something to my spirit that was, you know, it's kind of hard for me to describe, but he passed something on to me that I have since passed on to somebody else who will, I hope, at some point in the future pass, if he hadn't already, pass it on to somebody too, because it is a valuable lesson, valuable life lesson. He scared me, he made me cry, but he gave me a second chance. I was working at a company called NCR. I was a territory manager and had the opportunity to hire and fire. Hired a guy, Land Roland, and he was homeschooled, and, you know, some of the guys, you know, he, you know, wasn't a real people person. I'll put it that way. He was friendly, but, you know, he was just developing his social skills, and a lot of the guys that worked for me at the time were like, he's not going to work out, you know. And I'm tired of him calling and asking questions all the time and helping him. And, you know, they wanted me to fire him, and but I saw something in him, you know, and I was given a second chance. And this is how it was passed on. I pulled him into the office and I talked to him. I scared him just like the guy scared me. And I told him that he was going to be fired, just like the sergeant told me that I was going to be fired or kicked out of the program. He started crying, and he was 18 at the time. He was new to the company. He hadn't been with us no more than about a month and a half, and they were ready to fire him, you know. You know, the people that were on my team didn't want to work with him. But life teaches you certain lessons, and one of the lessons that I learned then was that some things are passed on. You just don't know when they're going to be passed on, but they will be passed on. He started crying. I scared him. I didn't intend to. Just like the sergeant probably didn't intend to scare me into crying. But he cried. And I was like, it awakens something in me. It awakened something in him. And he got a second chance. And I saw a guy today, I was telling you about Stephen Thomas. You know, we were reflecting on, you know, a lot of the folks have long since gone into retirement and different things in life. And I asked him about him, Land, and he mentioned that Land not only excelled in the company, he ended up becoming one of the instructors teaching, you know, the product lines. But that he was now working, you know, on the same floor as the CEO, as I guess some kind of a technical advisor. I say that to say this. You can be persuaded by people to do things. You know, like I could have taken their advice and told the guy, hey man, I need to bring in somebody with more experience. You're just not cutting it right now. You can be persuaded by somebody, or you can go with your heart, your gut, and I guess you could say what you feel is right. Now, I was apathetic towards him. Somebody was apathetic towards me. They gave me an opportunity. I gave him an opportunity. And I can assure you, just as I sit here speaking to you, I don't know how it is, but there's something that is passed on. He's probably not going to even realize it at the moment that he actually pass it on to somebody. But then again, it could have been an awakening, just like I was awakened. It could be an awakening in him that as soon as he do it, he's going to realize that he did something great for somebody. And at that point, whoever he helped, somewhere in the future, that person is going to become great, or let me not say great. Let's just say he's going to have wider limitations. Is going to be smarter. And that person is going to grow because of what we're doing. We're passing something on. Hard to explain. But trust me, I believe that there's some kind of a way that we're able to pass on knowledge to people to make them stronger. And he's in that line of succession. But nonetheless, got sidetracked.